Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Grit Series for Race 2 from the Suzuka Grand Prix circuit. Let's check out the current championship standings after one race. Demon R leading the way on 20 points, 3 ahead of Steve F1 in second place. Conrad sits in third place on 15 points and then Tyler in fourth on 13. Twilight Zone sits there in fifth place on 12 points ahead of Fluffy Planet in 6th on 10. Art Pal, he's in 7th place at the moment on 9 points. Then we've got Mitch and Jason both tied in 8th place on 8 points. David Harp rounds out the top 10 on 7 points, 1 ahead of Rich Blues in 11th, who is also 1 ahead of SGP in 12th after his disastrous last lap at the DGTC side. Formerly Gary, he's 13th on 3 points and he's 1 ahead of Jimmy, who's in 14th. And then we've got Hay, SRI and Bunsel, who are yet to score a point. Mainly because they weren't at race 1. With Hay having connection issues, Ray being unwell and Bunsel serving his race ban. Okay, let's take a look at the qualifying results. And SGP takes pole position with a 144.3 to 8. Barely anything between himself and Mitch, who will start on the front row. Row 2 is Steve F1 lining up alongside Conrad with Demon R in 5th place alongside Art Pal in 6th, his best qualifying result so far. Twilight, row 4 for him and Dave the Harp. Row 5 will see Fluffy line up alongside Bunsel. Gary will start in 11th place next to Rich Blues, and then Hay will start 13th. Unfortunately, SRI unwell again, Jason unable to race, as is Jimmy, and Tyler unable to come in as a reserve. But yeah, we're still on for one hell of a race here at Suzuka, so let's hand over to the commentators. I do like some chips. And joining me on commentary today here at Suzuka, we've got Raymond. How are you, Raymond?
I'm very well, how's yourself?
I'm absolutely fantastic. We've also got a Stephen with us. Hopefully it's not Stephen Hawking, otherwise commentary could be a bit weird. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, thank you as well. Glad to be on commentary at Suzuka.
For a second then I thought you was going to go... Right, okay. So here we go then. Suzuka, the Tomahawk, and also another Steve in the commentary box with us. SGP, how are you?
I'm fine. Let's get this race underway and get going.
Underway and underpants and away they go. And it's a decent start for SGP as Mitch trying to close in as they make their way down towards turn 1. Don't forget we've got the pack cam looking backwards today. Currently looking at Mitch, I reckon it'll be as Demon R runs a little bit wide. Nearly collects Steve F1 and Conrad slides through. Or does he hold on to his position? He holds on to his position. 4th place for Conrad at the moment. Demon R trying to close in the gap though. SGP leads the way right off the start.
Yeah, what we're doing with this guy, he keeps trying to lead races. We need to get him out of here. As we see Conrad trying to catch up with Steve F1 through the twisty bits, I would say.
You know what you could do, Ray? You could give SGP a raise ban.
Yeah, race ban, yeah.
Okay, I know that was a bad joke. I made that one up just now. Okay, Conrad under pressure, being attacked by Demon R into the hairpin. This will be an overtaking opportunity throughout the course of the race. It always is at Suzuka. Conrad's going to try and now attack, actually, Steve F1. I thought he lost the position with the basic kept it, but now he's on the back of Steve F1. Is Steve going a little bit slow there, do you reckon, Ray?
Yeah, it looks like that, but also I've seen Mitch is on the back of SGP further up, but as we see Art Pal, I think he was making a move on Fluffy, wasn't too sure, and Dave the Harp coming through as well, so Fluffy losing 2 places there, may have just been going a wee bit slow through the spoon.
Ooh, Fluffy's binned it! I think he's binned it, he got on the gravel, yes he has, he's into the barrier, I think Rich has binned it as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, it's an unfortunate start for Fluffy. One of the things the driver's going to have to be aware of here, Steve F1, who's joined us in the commentary box as mentioned, is how narrow this track seems to be, as Mitch trying to put some pressure on SGP.
Yeah, there's no margin for around here, narrow and fast, and if you dip a wheel off the track, you're dipping it on the grass and you're going to spin around with this car, so yeah, it's going to be a challenge for all the drivers in this race to get through without going off.
that it is SGP then opening up a little bit of a gap now to Mitch in second. Quick look at Gary down in 10th place, closing in on the back of Bunsell. Oh, Bunsell! Oh, and it's taking Gary with him. That's just unfortunate. That's exactly what Steve was on about. Bunsell dipped a wheel and around he went, and not a lot he could do or Gary could do to avoid that one. Demon R got a decent run on the back of Conrad, so after Conrad attacked Steve F1, he's ended up dropping back a little bit now, and Twilight, he's keeping pace at the moment in 6th place, so looking well. Oh, he got a little bit twitchy on the exit of the hairpin, but what can Conrad do here?
He's looking to go down inside. Hopefully, he's going to be on the outside, but hopefully he can keep it wide a wee bit and keep the speed there, but he's overtook him before I managed to finish my sentence.
Conrad overtakes quicker than Ray can speak. To be fair, it was a good overtake. I would question whether Steve F1 had a bit of an issue there. It wasn't going as fast as Conrad. Demon Arm also now on the back of him. I don't know, it'd be a bit early to perhaps be playing a fuel game. I mean, for information for the viewers, the drivers don't need it. Tyres should last the whole race easily enough. Question is, are they going to be hot or cold when they come out of the pits? Fuel, we're probably looking at 2-stop race, about 8 laps on a full tank of fuel, 9 if you're lucky, and with it being a 22-lap race, I don't think anybody's going to be going for the 1-stop. Not around a track like Suzuka, as we see Hay putting a bit of pressure on the back of Dave. The Harpoon dips a wheel, gonna have to be careful. Is that gonna send him wider and wider and wider, as can happen through the knuckles?
Yeah, I think as you say, I think everyone in practice was saying this is going to be a 2-stop race or 1-stop. Just is far too much fuel saving to do so. It does look like a nailed-on 2-stop race unless anyone's going to go for a big gamble. But yeah, Steve F1 at the moment doesn't seem to have much pace. He's now dropping into the clutch to Demon R.
Yeah, that he is. Now, we've seen Steve F1 in the past, sort of when he's in this sort of position. Oh, Dave the Arm trying to make the move on Art Pal. I don't know if he was going for the move, but he ended up doing. He's giving him the place back, actually. I think that may have been Dave dipping a wheel on the grass in the braking zone. Yeah, we've seen Steve F1 in this position before, going, okay, you know what, I will do a bit of fuel saving here. It may help me later on. But it doesn't look like SGP, Mitch and Conrad are fuel saving, although it depends on the lap times. I think a decent race pace around here is in the 145s. Anything in the 146s from the front guys could hint at a little bit of fuel saving. So it'll be interesting to see what the likes of SGP does. But as they make their way into the Casio Triangle, don't know if it's named after the watch or the watch is named after it or what, I do not know. But if you've got a Casio with a calculator on it, that's a new thing. A calculator on it, you may be able to work out how much fuel the guys are going to use. That's what I'm trying to say. Art Pal up the inside of Hay into one. Can he get the move done? As Twilight's closing in on a Demon R. I don't think Art Pal's got the move done. No, they're still side by side, and now he is ahead. Or is Hay gonna? No, he's not. He couldn't get his nose in there. He tried, but he can't do it. David Hart closing in now.
Yeah, that was a nice bit of racing there. Dave Hart looking to get past Hay here as we heard first Degna, is it called?
It is, yeah. We're going through, just gone through Dunlop and now towards the first Degna. It's such a fast corner. Hay taking it a little bit cautious though. I think David Hart tagged the back of him. Hay is, oh no, he's not quite saved it. That's unfortunate. Through goes Fluffy. I don't know if Dave's waiting for him on that one or perhaps didn't realise that... oh, pal, where are you going? That's gravel, that's not the track. He's going to have to be careful of cars coming at him. But looking at Fluffy now in 8th place, so he's closed in on the back of Dave. Yeah, so unfortunate for Hay, but yeah, I think if I was Hay, I'd have been a bit shouty about that one, I reckon.
It depends, he might have got it back and then felt that he couldn't go in for the corner because there was a car there and kind of straightened up and realised it was going in the gravel. I don't know.
Could it be possible that perhaps Conrad having a look up the inside of Mitch into the final chicane, side by side they go, and Conrad sideways, he'd gone for the move, he'd almost got it done, Thankfully, he hasn't binned it, but that's really allowed Steve F1 to close in their gap, and he's going to allow SGP to open up the gap at the front. Yeah, I'm just wondering whether Hay may have actually thought, you know what, I was a little too cautious, it's not Dave's fault that he hit me there, because it's not somewhere you would expect someone to brake. And you might expect someone to be a bit cautious, but then there is like cautious, and then there's I've seen a ghost, kind of cautious.
I didn't realise that was a kind of cautious, to be honest.
Well, it is now. It is
I
now.
just I'd shit myself on my way.
Yeah, I thought it was a term like a code brand moment. That.
Well, yeah, there is that as well. Okay, Mitch opening up the gap now on Conrad, which is interesting to see. Demon R all over the back of Steve F1. Twilight right there. So Demon R, he's got a decent run on Steve F1, but he's been sat behind him. Oh no! Oh, he was going to have a look for the overtake there, but can't quite get it done. But yeah, Twilight, I've got to admit, I'm pretty impressed with Twilight at the moment. He's on the pace of the leaders here.
Yeah, Cameron just falling behind at the minute. Oh, Demon are going for the move.
Sneaky. Wait, is that sneaky or is Steve F1's not? Well,
he didn't fight him much there, Steve F1. So yeah, he's obviously playing some cautious game at the moment. But,
Ghostbusters.
At the last track. At the last track. We had Breakback hairpin, which was the corner that caught most drivers out.
Twilight! Oh, sorry, he was having a look up the inside of Steve F1 into the final chicane there. Sorry, go on, what were you saying about Breakback hairpin? Oh, Pitters, Demon R into the pits. That's, well, I was going to say it's early. It is, end of lap 5.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, that's very early, isn't it? And completely the opposite to the last.
Whoa, bye,
Fluffy!
Fluffy!
Yeah, he's just did that wheel and off he goes. We haven't saw Demon R win by playing the long game the last race, so he's gone completely the opposite this way, and he's gone for an early undercut, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. When I mentioned the Demon R was into the pits, I heard someone end the word with and I don't know what they were saying.
That was SGP, but monkeys went to bed.
I think I'm having audio issues, so you keep putting in and out on me, that's all.
Hey, what? Sorry?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, SGP leading the way into the hairpin. I know SGP was trying to mention something about the Breakback hairpin. I'm not going to bastardise the corner. Oh, Davey off bastardised the hairpin. Although Hayes waiting for him by the looks of it, or is he just making sure he didn't hit him? Got to say though, fair play to Dave there as Stephen R was sideways. With all those cars coming at him, Dave stayed there. It's painful, it's hard to do, but it's the right thing to do. Hayes decided to go around him in the gravel. That's going to allow Demon R to catch up a few of those guys actually, which will help him. So Demon R going for the very early pit stop, formally going into the hairpin as well. So the undercut Demon R is going to get now is going to be quite big, and given that about 8 laps is what you can do on the fuel if you're really pushing, sort of I would expect some people to pit at lap 6 and then split the rest of the race 8 and 8. So Demon R pitted at 5, the end of 5, he's gone a lap early to try and get an extra undercut, but the front 3 have not pitted. They're obviously perhaps thinking, let's go for a longer first stint. Conrad all over the back of Mitch now as Fluffy Planet into the pits.
Yeah, and you can see the lap times there by Conrad in the 46s. 148, he must have had a wee moment in time, and Steve F1, he's in the 147.48s. Same as Team Twilight.
See,
so Steve F1's not got the pace.
Well, you say that, has he not got the pace, or is he just fuel saving? Because if he's doing that lap time, something's off. That's 2 seconds off the lap times. Dave the Harp getting a little bit wobbly there. So yeah, maybe Steve F1 is in extreme fuel save mode. And if he is, this is kind of what we're saying about with the fuel saving, you will end up going very, very slow, potentially to try and make it work. So yeah, I mean, SGP's doing 47s and 46s. That's fuel saving pace. That is really, really slow. I mean, to put it into perspective, Demon R is going to be doing around about 145s, so he's potentially 2 seconds a lap faster at the moment plus the benefit he'd get from boost. So Demon R could be on for getting a massive undercut here.
Yeah, the pole position time was mid 44s, wasn't it?
What, Steve?
The pole position time was a mid 44, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah, they're well off the qualifying pace at the moment.
I thought you said it was a 146 was an average time for the race.
No, 140 in the 145s is like a decent race pace. High 46s, mid 46s. That's for the front guys. That's not on pace, to be honest. I mean, it sounds a bit harsh because obviously some of the drivers aren't as quick, but obviously the guys up at the front have a little more experience. Oh, Bunsell, off he goes into the gravel at turn 1. I think he's right up by the wall, so maybe I will bastardise a corner. And Bunsell's barriers over there. Oh, Paul, he's in the gravel as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's allowed Dave the Harp through. Harpal trying to find reverse. There you go. He's managed to find it. Now he's got to be careful. Doesn't want to reverse into anybody, but he should be safe because here comes Gary. So SGP still leading the way. Still not pitted, but I've got to say I probably would expect them to pit now. Or if they are fuel saving, maybe go one more lap.
Could be possible. Just so it's like SGP, Mitch and Conrad are just keeping on pace with each other. They're not pushing or trying to attack each other. I'm going to say that, and then Conrad goes past Mitch.
Yeah, he's going to attack him now, isn't he? Oh, he's dropped off a little bit. They may be able to close in a little bit more, though. See what he can do. He's got a slipstream, but he's not really gaining that much. And I suppose it's because Mitch has got slipstream as well. We're 8 laps into Suzuka now. Are these guys going to pit? Demon R at the moment has had a 3-lap undercut. That's going to be huge. And there he is. He's now behind Dave the Harp, heading into the Casio Triangle. So he's not that far behind the leaders already. Twilight has entered to the pits, but the front 4 haven't. That's fascinatingly interesting, I'm sure. Dave the Harp's got massive tank slapper, going to hold on to the position for now though, but that's because I think Dave may be on lighter fuel here.
Yeah, he's not pitted, so he'll be on lighter fuel. And the front two, Mitch and Conrad. The Mitch had a wobble in the middle of the last chicane there, and so Conrad was right on the back of him. So there could be an overtake coming soon. Maybe, don't know. But as you've seen, Dave the Harp's actually pulling away.
Yeah, he is. SGP's still got that gap to Mitch. The Steve F1 is now starting to close in again. So it's now these guys slowing down a little bit more, trying to save some more fuel. And maybe Steve F1 has got to the point he wanted to on his fuel. I mean, if Steve F1 can get to lap 11, he can one-stop this. I don't know if the others can. So Dave the Harp through the hairpins, got Demon R right behind him as well. But I mean, it's an interesting situation this for Demon R, because if he stays behind Dave, he gets more boost, but he may end up going a little bit slower. But Dave's on light fuel and he's going pretty quick, so he might want to just wait for Dave to pit. Let's see, the leading 4 heading down the back straight now. There we go. Conrad close again on the back of Mitch. SGP seems very comfortable at the moment, sitting in those 46ers. It does look like he's just driving to a sort of like set lap time. Mitch very twitchy, Conrad a little twitchy. SGP does not pit. Well, that's a surprise. Mitch doesn't pit, Conrad doesn't pit, Steve doesn't pit. They're not going to get halfway, surely.
Very interesting there. Steve F1 was the only one in the 45s on that lap, so it looks like he's up the pace and the others haven't. So yeah, I don't know, there's some kind of strategic game seems to be going on at the front.
Well, interestingly, Dave the Harp has just pitted. Oh, it's Conrad, a big tank slapper. Yeah, Dave the Harp pitted. That's freed up Demon R, but Dave the Harp... Oh, Harpal and Gary, they're off. I don't know if they've had a moment together or whether they just thought... well, I don't know. They might have been doing a bit of dogging over there for all we know. I can just imagine you, woof woof, Gary, woof woof. Oh, God. Oh, Conrad! He saved it. That was close.
Yeah, he was right. He was close to that wall there. He cut that wall and he would have been spinning.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is Dave Hart managed to get to the end of lap 9. That's good. if these guys have been fuel saving, I've got a feeling they may be able to get another lap. If they can get to the end of lap 11, they can one-stop this race. The difficulty is going to be when these guys have pitted and Demonar has done his pit stop. What's that gap's going to be? Demonar may be behind, but he's going to be able to push. These guys can't really, as Mitch now coming under pressure from Conrad down towards the R130. Conrad will be like, hello my little friend, come to play my little friend. I'm going to overtake you my little friend. And he's trying up the inside. No, he doesn't go for it. Interesting.
No, that was interesting. I thought he would have went for it, but he's not. Oh, he's going in the pits.
That might be why Conrad 0% of fuel. So he's timed that either to perfection. Hey, oh, so easily done there. If he doesn't spin it, he'll do well. Oh no, into the barrier he goes. That's unfortunate. That is. So easily done though, so easily done. So Conrad into the pits, then he's still in the pits. Twilight pitted earlier. This will be interesting to see how much of a gap Demonar and maybe even Twilight have pulled on Conrad. Well, there is Conrad. It's going to be close. Ooh, so into turn 1, Twilight takes the position. So I tell you what, Demonar is way up the road compared to Conrad. That could make things very interesting for when it comes to the leaders making their pit stops. Twilight, he's now, what, he's done about 4 laps, I think it is, on this particular filling. So may have a little bit less fuel than Conrad. But here's a thought for you, Ray. Conrad pitted at the end of lap 10 with 0% of fuel. If he does exactly the same stint, he's going to be 2 laps short.
Yeah, and I think if other people are pushing with the 2-stop, might cost them as Conrad overtakes Twilight into the hairpin there. If the others are pushing hard and with the faster lap times, then they could get caught out as well.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, Mitch, his last lap was a 47.2. I mean, it is, and they're not pitting. SGP's not pitting. Mitch hasn't pitted. Steve F1 is into the pits. So Steve F1 was fuel saving earlier, but what on earth are these two? What fuel have they got in their car?
That's surprising because they seem to have the pace and they've stretched the fuel longer as well. So yeah, that's a big surprise to see them two staying out. It looked like they were the ones going for the shorter stint, but obviously not.
Well, yeah, I mean they were quick. I mean they were off pace, but I mean that's interesting, odd, but another fascinating part to it is Demonar is now in 3rd place. He's about 12 seconds, I think, behind the leaders. Steve F1 is only going through turn 1 now. That's the gap that Demonar has got over Steve F1, and Demonar has got 1 more pit. So let's see, I think Demonar's going into Degner 2 now, and Steve F1 is 2 corners away from Dunlop. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Surely, though, these guys have got to be pitting this lap. They've gone... I suppose the advantage for these is by being able to get to the end of lap 12, they can potentially push a little bit faster on the next stint because they've done 12 laps. They only need to do 10 now.
Yeah, it just depends on whether they can stay ahead of Steve F1 here because he's got the advantage of the undercut.
Yeah, here's Conrad. Hello, Fluffy, my little friend. I'm going to overtake you. Is he going to go for it into Spoon? No, he's not. He'd give Fluffy a bit of a nudge up the rear. Fluffy just saves it. I think it was Fluffy. Yes, it is. SGP into the pits then with 5% of fuel. 2% of fuel, sorry. Mitch had 5%. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be a long pit stop, about 25, 26 seconds. And what effect is it going to have? Demonar could have pitted then and perhaps tried to get to the end, unless he felt he couldn't actually do that distance. But yeah, he's now going to take the lead of the race. Fascinating. Is Fluffy going to be able to get ahead of SGP and Mitch here? It could be close. Well, there's Dave the Harp. No, Fluffy won't. He's in the pits. But David Harp's there with Steve F1 right behind him and Twilight. So Twilight and Steve F1 are kind of in the fight. And here they are, coming out of the pit lane then. SGP, is he going to get overtaken? No, he's not. He's out ahead of Dave the Harp. That could be critical. Mitch, though, he comes out right behind Twilight. And, behind Steve F1 as well. So Steve F1 didn't get a massive undercut, but he got enough of an undercut to jump Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch had a slower pit stop, but he did lose 2 or 3 seconds to SGP by the looks of it. So
could it be tyres? Do you think a driver would take tyres in this race? And if they would, why would they?
Oh, Conrad! Don't spin it, my little friend. I'm thinking about little friends. If a midget said that your hair smelled nice, would that be sexual harassment?
Oh, you've been watching too much TikTok.
Don't tell me you've seen the same video, because if you have, that's going to kill every one of my jokes for the rest of this race.
What do you
don't
call
say
it?
No, don't say it!
Cabinet.
Don't say it! No, don't say it! That's my best one, you bastard! Don't you dare! Don't you dare! I've worked out a setup for that one as well, you bitch.
Yeah, I've seen them all.
The chances of that. Demon Art carries on, by the way. Not just for anyone that might be interested. Demon Art does some woodworking videos, you know, and he likes rebuilding some cabinets and stuff like that. Yeah, it makes me think, what do you call 2 lesbians in a cupboard?
Wicker basket.
A liquor cabinet. You fucking ruined it for me, Raymond. Right, what's happening? I'm not talking now.
Mitch is trying to take an overtake on Twilight, but he had to back out of it. Yeah.
Serious question though, for you guys. What the fuck are you two doing watching TikTok?
Well, I wasn't on TikTok. It was on Facebook. It was a compilation video on Facebook. So yeah. In answer to the question about your tyres that you mentioned, though, yes, a driver could take tyres here if they felt that when they practiced, if they did a pit stop and didn't change the tyres and come out, the tyres could cool down and it could be a tricky outlap. If they change the tyres, maybe the tyres will be warmer and it'll be an easier outlap. So you might lose some time in the pit lane, but you'd gain it or not risk losing it on the or Mitch making the move on Twilight. Twilight had a bit of a twitch and away he goes now, does Mitch. It can do with the tyre temperatures and the amount of grip someone may have on their outlap, because the last thing you want to do is pit and then bin it on your outlap. Demon R looks like he's heading into the pits then. So he had about, I think, a 17-second lead over Conrad. He'd need a 26-second lead over the pack. I don't know if he's got that though, because I don't think the gap
before his pit was his fastest, a 1:45.3, I think it was. Oh, Conrad's on the pits as well.
Yeah, so Conrad. Yeah, well, he needed to pit. Interesting though, the amount of fuel that Conrad's got in his car on the way into the pits. I'll get on to that in a moment, because SGP takes the lead of the race now.
He's got fuel.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because he pitted at the end of lap 10, didn't he? And he's only got to the end of lap 14 with 8% of fuel left. He must have short-filled.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, he must have realised, okay, I've got to the end of lap 10, I can't one-stop this race. He knew he had to do a short stint somewhere. Better to do it now than in the last 2 laps, let's put it that way. So it'd be interesting to see what Connor can do about that now then. For Demon R though, he's come out of the pits behind... No, he's behind. Oh, Conrad making the move on David Hart. Yeah, he's behind Artpal, who is right behind Gary as well, I think it is. So Conrad making the move, and he kind of needs to make moves if he can, because there is Demon R behind Artpal, who's behind Gary, who is behind Hay, and not too far away, that's the leading trio. So Demon R's got about 10 seconds to the leading 3, but Demon R can push. The leading 3 are going to have to be careful of their fuel, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Oh, Gary got a dipped wheel. Oh, he's managed to save it just about. As you may notice, well, Gary's got a few more sponsors on the side of the car, and what looks like the silhouette of either somebody having a poo lying down, or they're meant to be a racing driver.
What?
What? On the right hand side of his car, look! This is a silhouette of a driver. You've been drinking too much beer.
No, it just looks like cracks on the paintwork from
Yeah,
me,
it's
but-
not. It's it's the silhouette of a driver. And into the pits goes Gary. So that frees up Art Pal and Demon R. I'm not sure what strategy Art Pal is on, but for any of the drivers, around about now would be a good time to pit for your final pit stop. We've got what? 7 laps to go, so anyone that pits now should be able to get to the end of the race without really having to worry too much about the fuel. Demon R may be in a situation here where Art Pal's on low fuel, and we've seen it before, low fuel versus heavy fuel. There is a big difference in what speeds are capable of doing, but interestingly, just to let you know, up at the front, Steve F1 sitting in second place has got Mitch closing in on him, but is Steve going to have to save more fuel than the guys around him? Potentially. Art Pal sitting in 4th at the moment with Demon R closing in on him. I'm trying to work out what that gap may be. It's looking around about 8, 9. Where's Art Pal gone? Where is he?
What is it?
Oh, he's binned it. He's binned it at the hairpin. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
And also, Hay pitted, so Demon R doesn't have to try and overtake Hay, so that's released Demon R now.
Yeah, I mean, Demon R's not had to overtake anybody, really. But, I mean,
get out the way, oh shit, he's 6 times world champion or whatever.
Yeah. Let's have a crash. This is fascinating though. Looking at the pace again, they're in the 47s, so they're definitely managed. I mean, this is an interesting scenario now for these leading guys because their lap times don't really matter. It's all about how much fuel they're using per lap. As we're going on board with Mitch for a lap behind Steve F1, Raymond then take us for a lap around Suzuka.
Well, I don't know the corner, so you'll be hard on the brakes about just under the 100 metre mark for turn 1, and then more on for turn 2 as we come up to whatever they call these, the squigglies I call them.
The knuckles.
So the knuckles, so you'll be on and off the accelerator, just try to keep the car stable down here. And we're on to Dunlop, and then put the power down, push as hard as you can up to first Egna, a little bit of brake just to keep the car stable, then hard on the brakes to get round the second. Watch you don't go too wide or else you're going to hit the wall as we come down into the hairpin. Hard on the brakes. I don't know the distance ones, I never done any practice, I never even raced, so and as we're coming up, I think it's Spoon we're coming up to, so keep the power down, hard on the brakes, about 80 metres, and then just let it, don't fully accelerate in the first part of that corner, wait till you're near the apex of the second, get the power down straight up to the R130. R130. I don't know if it's flat out. It's flat out.
Oh yeah, beautifully flat out.
Hard on the brakes into the last chicane, which I can't remember the name of. Round this corner, which you don't get the back end out, or else you could be in the pits.
Yeah.
I'm still not seen anybody in the pits. I was hoping to see at least 2 people.
You know what? We had bets on that, didn't we, last week? Actually,
Yeah.
we did, and no one's done it. I mean, I've got to say though, that was a decent lap by Mitch. He's now closed in on Steve F1. You didn't do too bad on your commentary there, Raymond. To be fair, yeah, it's not easy to know all of the corner names and stuff like that, but. An interesting lap from Mitch where it was clear that he's not pushing that much, but what I will say is, I mean, Mitch is a dirty pad user, and apparently he had 3 boners during that lap, from what Ray was saying. He had a hard on into this one and a hard on into that one. He don't need Viagra, does that boy? Oh, he might need new pants though.
I'll go back inside, nice. Get hold of it. That's a pad that's helping that.
Oh, it could be. Well, what I was going to say about the pad is, on that lap, it was clear that Mitch has got a nice balance of what he's doing with his steering. He's not just whacking it full lock round corners. Oh, Dave, he may have wanted to whack it full lock there. Oh, hey, can he miss him? He can. And Dave just tags the Hamilton barrier. I've just named it that because Hamilton binned it there a few years ago. But Hay was quite lucky and did well to avoid him. Mitch got the run. But yeah, I was impressed with Mitch's steering. Nice and smooth on the pad, which is good for the tyre wear. But also with these cars, you can get them a little bit sideways. They can be quite playful. The risk is around a track like this. The track is so narrow that he doesn't want to play back. Mitch, though, he really wants to play. He has a look at the inside of Steve F1. Maybe go for a switchback now. There's Demon R, by the way. So he is closing in on these guys. And Mitch is going to go around the outside as Steve F1's going to be sat there going, oh man, every time Mitch overtakes me, I'm bloody outside.
Well, that was good for Mitch. He had to go for it eventually because I think he's got more pace and he got Steve F1 out of position to that chicane. Like, Demon, that's so.
He kept out the kitty litter as well.
Demon, I was only about 4 seconds behind Mitch and Steve F1 at that point, so that's really costly for him.
Yeah, bit of a rookie error there, really.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Definitely a rookie error. I mean, I can only guess that was a lapse in concentration. As you said, Steve was only 4 seconds behind. With what? 4 laps to go. 19, 20, 21, 22. Yes, get your fingers out. Count the fingers. 22. It's not 22. 4 laps to go. Potentially. I mean, all he would have needed to do would have been to get into the slipstream of one of the cars, and he's in the fight then, because these guys wouldn't really be able to turn their engines up much, whereas Demon R wouldn't have to worry about it. But now, well done, Gary, for avoiding that one. We saw Dave Binney there on the previous lap, and obviously trying to do a tribute act, but not quite getting it right. Gary then, not too far, Gary not too far from the back of Twilight. I say Twilight's had a really good race so far. Gary doing well as well.
Yeah, he's been doing good. Was he 7th? It just looks like he's been plodding around, sticking to his lap times, 141s, 142s. Yeah, he's been keeping it quite consistent as he comes up behind Twilight here. I wonder how much of a slipstream. Oh, Hayes going for it. Hayes not wanting to.
Whoa!
Well, where did he go? He's back to the future.
He's back in front. Oh, no, Twilight says you know what? I don't know if there was contact between Hay and Twilight there. I don't know. There's clearly some visual oddities there. As David Harp now making the move on Gary down into turn 1. David Harp with the inside line. Gary do well to keep on the road there. It's not easy to stay around the outside, but he manages to do it. Nice overtake from Dave, and good driving from Gary. And they're closing in on Hay, who managed to make that overtake somehow. But I'm quite impressed with that.
A driver that we've not mentioned for a while is Fluffy. Where's Fluffy at the moment in this race?
He's currently in 10th place, so they just flashed in the background. I seen his winky. Oh god. So he is closing in though on the back of Twilight here. Hopefully when he did his last pit stop he put enough fuel in to get to the end. I think he struggled a little bit with fuel at the last race, so Twilight has spotted that Fluffy is now really closed in. The problem is there isn't really anywhere to go at the moment. Twilight, he's having a look at Gary, but Gary's having a look at Dave, and Fluffy's playing the safe game by the looks of it. Oh, Gary's going wide, is he? Twilight over the inside. That's a lovely opportunistic attempt, but he's not been able to do it. Fluffy gets squeezed a little bit, manages to stay on the road just. That's good racing all round there. Oh, Gary, you pulled out there. There's a bit of grass there, mate. Watch out. He's still on the grass.
He's on the grass. Oh, and Fluffy's following him.
Fluffy must have been like, hey, that's working for Gary. Oh, no. He nearly absolutely nailed Gary there. He managed to just slow it down in time, but now he's lost it. The grass isn't grippy out there. He's going to have to be careful. That may want to spin on him when he gets going again. That's unfortunate for Fluffy. I tell you what, SGP, you cursed him there. We're not seeing Fluffy for a while. Yeah. Dave going for the move on Hay into one. Twilight going for Gary. Dave didn't quite go for it. I don't know if he thought that Hay may go for the apex, but Hay
Gary got it.
Gary did. Hay did leave a bit of space for Dave there, but good driving. It'll be interesting to see how this continues on. Twilight still pressuring Gary up at the front. The front three are holding station at the moment. And I was trying to mention as well earlier that for them, their lap times don't really matter apart from the gap to Demon R. For them, it's about fuel usage to the end. Hay was a little wide there. He's got away with it. And here is the lead battle. So yeah, looking at their pace, it's still in the 46s. But for them, they'll be keeping an eye on where Demon R is, but other than that, they've got a big enough gap to 5th place that these guys can drop their pace a bit to save the fuel if they need to. And with Demon R making that error, they've been gifted an extra 4-second window, where if these guys need to slow down a bit more to save some more fuel, they're going to be able to do it. I think though... Go on.
Well, I was going to ask, would they need to really worry after his error he's made? So that was a question I was going to ask, and you just answered it.
Yep. Well, interestingly, this race has flown by. The leaders are onto the final lap of the race, so Mitch has really closed in. So whatever he was doing with his fuel, now it's game on. He's into the 45s, look, for the last 2 laps. So maybe he was saving a bit of extra fuel when he was behind Steve F1 earlier. I don't think Steve F1 has got the fuel to attack these guys now. I mean, these guys are actually on a shorter stint than he was. So the question now is SGP going to be able to hold on to this? Is Mitch going to be able to attack him? Has SGP saved enough fuel to turn that engine up a little bit? Maybe, we don't know. We've still got the battle going on in the pack, which you may be able to see on the pack cam down in the bottom corner. It's been used slightly differently today, but it may still not be that good. But anyway,
never double click it and it'll grow bigger.
Yeah, and if you slap it, it'll hurt. Mitch all over the back. This is where Mitch really needs to try setting up SGP. Try and get SGP a little bit out of shape into and out of Spoon. SGP goes defensive, so he's a little bit out of shape. This is critical now for Mitch. Be careful of SGP. He likes to park it on the apex, and he is parking it on the apex, and that's now Mitch is too close. He's not going to get enough slipstream to make the move, I don't think.
Nah, that guy's parked on the apex like he always does, the ballback. I think he is too close. He's not really.
He's going to SGP's more defensive. Mitch ain't going to be able to do it around the outside. He's looking for a switchback, but SGP's going to park it. He does. Oh, Mitch, too much power. Oh, he nearly lost it. What a finish. SGP's going to take the win. Mitch, 2nd place. Steve F1 takes 3rd. Demon R. What could have been. Conrad, I've got to say, Conrad's had a brilliant race, but I think, to be fair, for Demon R and Conrad, they're probably going to be sat there going, how the hell have those 3 done that? For Dave the Harp, though, he's got a couple of guys behind him, Fluffy and Twilight. They're battling. Fluffy was off the track. I think they've just about both survived. Oh, no, they haven't. Twilight's off.
What?
Fluffy's off.
Hayes coming through.
Gary might get through there as well. He does. He's just past 1. He's just past 2. So Fluffy's going to cross the line in 7th. Hay 8th. Gary 9th. Chaos in the final corner. Twilight 10th. Artpal 11th. Not seen much of Artpal since we saw him find in reverse earlier on. And Bunsell, we're not seeing a lot of him on the main feed. I think this is a track that Bunsell may have struggled on a little bit. To be fair, I think it's a track that everybody struggled on. Definitely from what we're seeing in practice. Because these cars, although they're brilliant to drive and they're fast, as Bunsell is making his way towards the R130, they are big, they're fast. This track seems quite narrow. I mentioned it on last week's commentary. This track is an amazing track to race and in these cars, but it's going to hurt for a bit first, because it only takes one dip of a wheel and it's disaster, and it can happen at turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through this track. There is not a corner where you are safe, and I think that may have shown today. I think also we may have lost Rich Blues through the course of that race, perhaps a bit of frustration with dipping a few wheels himself. So a bit unfortunate, but what a race. I've no idea how SGP, Mitch and Steve F1 managed to do the ones. Well, I do know how they've done it. They've gone so slow that they've not burnt enough, like they've not burnt too much fuel. But it has come as a surprise. I didn't think anybody was going to be able to do it or would do it, but they have done it. We didn't get to see if it would have been the better strategy. We needed Demon R to not balls it up and see what would have happened in those last few laps, because it could have been interesting. It really could.
When Demon Lap was at that Fender Lap 5?
5, yeah.
If there was, say, somebody like Connor that was planning on doing a 2-stop, maybe he was hoping to try and get 1-stop in but couldn't, but if he was planning on doing a 2-stop, if you see Demon R doing it at that point, you've got to start thinking, he's going to undercut me, how many more laps do I let him do before he undercuts me from that undercut? But also, I mean, I'm not criticising Connor at this point, because I'm just pointing out that he did a 2-stop as well, but anyone that was doing 2-stop, you've got to think, well, maybe that's the prime time to be pitting to doing a 2-stop if Demon R's doing it.
If you're going to be doing a short stint at some point, when are you going to do it? Because there's not much point doing it late on, because you haven't got the time to get it back. I mean, it's one of those things. There's many different strategies that could have played out here today, I suppose. Turns out the winning one is a 1-stop that no one thought was going to be possible to do. But yeah.
Well, I think on paper, the 2-stop's the faster strategy. But what the risk is with that 2-stop is you've got traffic that you've got to deal with. You've got to be on the limit for 22 laps, which then means you're going to do what Demon R did at one point, which was make a rookie error into turn 1, and you're off the track. And there's your advantage gone. So the 2-stop is probably the faster strategy, but you've got to make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the more risky one, but it's the faster one, if you can make it work.
Yeah. For everybody else, though, I mean, I think it has been a bit of a painful race. I've got to say again, though, to Conrad, it's another race where he's gone error-free, pretty much, and that's brilliant to see. The strategy did quite work for him. I mean, I do think Conrad was perhaps on a stretch at 2:11. If he'd have been able to do that, it'd have been very interesting. But also, I mean, to be fair, we know that Conrad tends to be a flat out going for it every lap kind of driver, and for him to get 10 laps out of it if he's driven that way, phenomenal.
He handed over his hot pants to Demon R.
He made use of him in the first corner.
Do you think Connor may have gone, into that race or after the first couple of laps, let's just do what they do in front of me? And he unfortunately was just using a little bit more fuel than the ones in front, and I could only get to lap 10.
Maybe.
So he was trying to follow what the leaders were doing, but maybe used just a touch more fuel without realising it. Because that's easy to do if you've not done the practice that SGP may have done or Steve F1. Because I'm pretty sure those guys, even Mitch, would have gone into that race knowing exactly the game plan. And to make that work, they would have to have left the line carefully, not use too much fuel from lap 1. And if you decide you're going to try and do a 1-stop after about 3 or 4 laps, you can't.
Boring, 1-stoppers, fuel saving boring.
It's like Arsenal 1-0, isn't it?
Not only do I get SGP's wife to give him more jobs to do around the house so he can't practice.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, there's only one job I like off the missus.
Hey, behave yourself. Talking about if a woman drinks a glass of wine. No, shut up! I'm getting me joke out. If a woman drinks a glass of wine, it increases the chance of a stroke. If she has a whole bottle, she might suck it.
Yeah, TikTok.
Yeah. Anyway, SGP. Right, Gary was saying something about what it stands for. Like, I can't remember, something to do with petrol.
Shit, get petrol. Yeah.
Shit, get petrol, that's right, yeah. Maybe it could be still got petrol.
No. I'm not having it. We'll wait and see what happens in the next race, because the next race, Yamagiwa 2, I think it is, that is one hell of a different racetrack.
That's the fuel burn, that is.
It is, but I'm not bothered about the fuel. I'm more thinking about there were a few drivers that may not have enjoyed Suzuka that much because it can punish you. Yamagiwa, that track it's like it's made for these cars.
It's like a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, there is a couple of corners where you've got to make sure you get it slowed down, and you need to make sure you're not too greedy on your throttle. But there are some brilliant high-speed sections that car is just going to absolutely lap up. It's going to be fantastic to see. I mean, that's a track where someone can be on the limit every lap and not make a mistake around that track. Excuse me. And if someone is fuel saving, the time difference between those lap times could be 3-4 seconds because of how fast that track is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. With what I will say is that, I mean, in this championship, the fuel saving boring strategy was one that was not meant to be. One I've been practicing after yeah, well, maybe it's a reaction to Demon R doing the 2-stop when everybody else was thinking 3-stop at the first race. So maybe it's a reaction to that, and they've gone, right, well, you think you can do 2, I'm going to do 1. Try non-stop at the next race, see how you get on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more track dependent. I think that was just probably a bit of an abnormality there, to be honest. It's a bit surprising, really, because I always keep pressing mute, which cuts my microphone off.
A bit silly.
Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, Suzuka's a track that normally uses quite a fair bit of fuel, but particularly that track, there was ways of doing it without that. But well, yeah, it's going to be track dependent.
Yeah, but I mean, also it's lap amounts dependent, because obviously it's different laps at different races. The last race, I think it ended up being about a 42-minute race. This race was a 39-minute race. So those 3 minutes can make quite a difference as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season pans out, because the tracks are very, very different going forward. What I will say is it's difficult for us to sit here and mention everything about everybody's race. We're not going to try and do that as much this championship. But also to let everybody know, on the pack cam, one of the things I've tried to do 2 different things with that. One is look at stuff that the main feed isn't looking at, but also on occasion give a secondary view of what is being seen on the main screen. So still playing about with it a little bit, but I am going to let you know I'm going to charge you for the physiotherapy I'm going to need on my fingers for holding a button down for 39 minutes. Right, Raymond, don't say anything.
Okay, here comes another TikTok.
Steve F1, what should you do if your wife starts smoking?
I haven't got a wife.
Good answer.
SGP, what should you do if your wife starts smoking?
Chuck more paper on.
Chuck more paper on. Slow down and apply lubricant. You know what, Ray? I'm so disappointed. I was like, then these jokes are fucking brilliant. They're gonna fucking love these, and I'm thinking it. Ruin my fucking mojo. Right, let's have a look at the confirmed race result in the championship standings, shall we? Right, thank you for joining us on commentary, guys. And we'll go and kill some zombies now as I cry at my jokes. Right, let's check out the confirmations. SGP then with the victory and the maximum 20 points for him. That's a good way to come back after race 1. Finishing in second place is Mitch on 17 points. He finished ahead of Steve F1 in third, so he'll bag 15 points. And Demon R finished in fourth to get 13 points. Conrad finished in 5th place, ahead of Dave the Harp in 6th, who bags 11 points. Fluffy finished in 7th place, ahead of Hay in 8th, who gets the 9 points. Formula Gary, 9th place for him, 8 points on the board. Twilight finished in 10th place. He was unlucky on the last couple of laps there. 7 points for him, and Art Power, tough race for him, in 11th place, bagging 6 points, with Bunsell coming back from his ban and not getting any penalties here, so obviously doing something a bit better. 12th place and 5 points. Rich Blues unfortunately got a DNF. Now there was 1 report placed, but no penalties being handed out, so the points are not going to change from the race result. So what's that done to the standings then? Well, it's made things very tight at the top. Demon R still leads the way on 33 points, but he's only now 1 point ahead of Steve F1 on 32 points. Conrad sits in third place on 27, and then we've got Mitch and SGP tied for fourth, and they're both on 25 points, only 2 behind Conrad. Fluffy Planet sits in 6th place on 20 points, and it's close behind him as well, with Twilight on 19, David Harp on 18, Art Pal on 15, Tyler on 13, formerly Gary on 11, and it stays tight as well with Hay on 9, Jason on 8, Rich Blues on 6th, Bunsel on 5, Jimmy on 2, and SRI the only driver to not score a point yet, unfortunately. However, hopefully you'll be feeling better for the next race, which will be from the Yamagiwa-2 circuit, I believe. We will confirm that in a second. But what a race 2 we've had. It's really tightened things up at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom, just how the ladies like it. Okay, round 3 is going to be from the Yamagiwa-2 circuit for 30 laps of high-speed action. There are some phenomenal corners at that track. The drivers are going to have to be careful, though, of the 2 tricky little chicanes and the tight hairpin. That track may get some corner names by the time we get to race there. Okay, thank you folks for joining us. What a race we've had today. So yeah, I would recommend you like, subscribe, and follow us to find out what's going to happen at the next race. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.